John Deere Dana axles, 6000, 7000, 6M6R. This is not specific to a part number, just specific to a design of the axle. So we do sell these good used. We also sell them rebuilt. When we rebuild them, we do build them complete. And I'm going to show you a few ways that we can offer the rebuild based on what's wrong with yours. So we keep the final drives already. So the final drive is the carrier, steering knuckle, the U-joint drive shaft that goes all the way to the differential. That's a complete final drive. If you just need the final drive out here, the planetary assembly, most of that's not that expensive. You just buy that stuff new. But when you get into your steering knuckle, drive shaft, gets a little bit more pricey. That's when final drive is a good option. So on a complete one, what happens most of the time is that the differential area, actually specifically most of the time, it doesn't get greased, and then that wears into the housing. Housing breaks out, falls onto the engine dampener. Now you know you got to fix it. Also, the pinion bearing can go bad and tear the housing up. So when you have to buy a housing, that's the time to consider a replacement axle. Anything less, you're far better off to just fix your axle. So if you're fixing your center axle, you're going to have the cost of an axle housing, assuming you don't have ring gear and pinion or differential problems. You'll have new bearings that you've got to put in, new setup. And I guess you don't have to do anything to your final drives, but if it's in a dealership, they're going to want to. And I'm not a big guy on, hey, while we're here, but if you've had an issue here, if I can be honest and no one gets upset, it's a maintenance issue. So you're probably lacking maintenance on your final drives too. So those at least need to be looked at. They don't have to be rebuilt if they're good, but they should be looked at. So now you want a price for a complete axle, but you know your final drives are good. We can do two things. We can knock off our final drives and sell you just a center section, or we can give you a rebate on your final drives, less new bearings, new seals, and the labor to rebuild them. The center sections do need to come with the steering cylinder. One, because it's rebuilt. Two, is that allows us to do different fitment because your steering cylinder may not fit into that housing. So that's important. Same thing, if your steering cylinder was good, we can give you a little rebate back on that. The whole thing with the rebate is most guys are scared to tell you what's wrong with theirs because they think that you're going to charge them more. Our price is our price. The rebate is where that happens. So the more we know up front, the more we can give you an idea of what your rebate would be. If we have no idea, there's no way we can give you an idea on your rebate. So the more you know, the more dialed in we can get you. This is obviously the easiest, fastest replacement, but it's never the cheapest. So part of this is just educating the customer on, well, I thought it was cheaper to buy a complete axle. No, because you're buying two, $10,000 a piece final drives. So if those are good, you don't have to have them. If you're going to rebuild them anyway, then they're already installed, saves you that time. And depending on what you're doing, you're back into the field. Tag numbers off your axle, especially in the older series, is important. Way more important than the serial number. Typically on your newer tractors, 6M6Rs, your serial number will tell us everything because you probably haven't replaced it yet. Tag number is typically on the right-hand side. Between the differential and the final drive.